Hey, this is Scott Photography Bonsai. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Nikon D850. Thanks to Cameracraft in Rockford, Illinois for letting me try this out at this shop. With this video, I'm definitely going to be comparing this camera to the Z7 quite a bit. That's really the main focus of this video, is how it compares to that new camera. Considering they're very similar spec-wise in some aspects, but also very different. Right now, the Z7 is actually a little bit more expensive than the D850. The D850 has a lot of the higher end pro level features of Nikon's cameras. You have the flash sync port, you have the accessory port for GPS and other things. You also have the round viewfinder with the switch to close that off for astrophotography or something similar. You have the top left buttons for changing file quality, metering, white balance, and the mode. That's a really important feature for a lot of professionals. They're very used to those buttons up there. And then you have the dial below that for changing shooting speed and different settings, maybe quiet mode if you want to use that. This camera does have the XQD slot and the SD UHS 2 slot. So you got the 2 card slots, one for backup right in the camera. Of course, the Z7 only has a single XQD card slot. The screen is a touch screen. It does tilt, basically the same thing as the Z7. They both work really well with the touch interface. Both cameras do have the EL15 battery, however, the D850 lasts significantly longer with the battery, at least based on the rating. This one's rated to around 1,800 photos per charge. The Z7 SEPA rating is a lot lower than that. The diopter adjustment dial is very similar to the Z7, however, I do think the Z7 is a little more convenient to use because it is larger with more texturing. But they're very similar. They basically work by pulling them out, changing them, and then pushing back in so it locks. You have all the standard ports, HDMI, USB, those have locking capabilities to them. Also, you have the mic port and headphone port. Autofocus wise, you have the 153 phase detection points. That is a standard autofocus system, of course. It's separate from the sensor, as this is a traditional DSLR. Video wise, you have full sensor 4K at 30 frames a second maximum. Does not do peaking at 4K, which I believe the Z7 does do that. However, at 1080p you can use the peaking feature. A few of the interesting features of this camera from a photography aspect is that this camera can do focus shift and also time-lapse. You can do silent shooting, but that is of course with the live view mode. Now I'm going to talk about the Z7 over the D850 and then do the reverse of that. With the Z7, it is better in autofocus with video. It's naturally going to be that way because it has the phase detection points on the sensor. In general, it's better suited to doing video because you can use the EVF or the screen. You do get all the benefits of a mirrorless system, mirrorless camera. EVF, if that's your thing, basically what you see is what you get. It's better suited to silent shooting because you can use the EVF when you're doing that silent photography. The Z7 does have a larger focus area, basically almost to the corners. You can use those focus points on the sensor so you don't have to shift the camera at all to get exactly where you want to focus. The Z7 is smaller, of course. It is mirrorless. Probably one of the biggest benefits of the Z7 over the D850 is that you don't have to micro adjust your lenses for focus. One of the other big benefits with the Z7 is that it has the in-camera shake reduction. With any lens you can use that shake reduction and get lower shutter speeds in various situations, yet still get sharp photos. Especially with these high resolution cameras, in-camera shake reduction should help out. I actually prefer the top screen of the Z7 over the D850. It is smaller, but it's very bright, very easy to see. The Z7 will eventually have Z-mount lenses that will not work on the D850. Moving forward, if you see Z-mount lenses that will eventually come out that you're interested in, something to consider. Alright, now let's talk about why the D850 I think is better than the Z7. It has the traditional Nikon system and it's really one of the best for tracking autofocus. 7 frames a second with auto exposure and autofocus. However, if you put a grip on, which the Z7 can't even take a true battery grip, you can use 9 frames a second with that battery grip. If you prefer the larger cameras with the large, thick grip, this is really the best option. It has a dedicated autofocus switch button combination. I really like that feature with the Nikon cameras. It's quick to change autofocus modes and change from manual to autofocus right on the camera. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there are a lot of pro level features related to controls. You have that top one with the buttons for white balance, mode, and all of that, with the dial right below it. A lot of Nikon shooters are very used to that setup and they really like it. You have the 2 card slots, you got that instant backup, longer battery life, rated over 1,800 shots per charge. Especially if you use the battery grip, you'll have a lot of photos with that setup without having to change batteries. Right now this camera is actually lower price than the Z7, and I do think the body in general is very robust. It's larger, feels more solid than the Z7. In the hands, I actually prefer the Z7's grip a little bit, maybe because the D850 is so large and I'm more used to the mirrorless cameras these days. But it will really depend on you if you want that really substantial large camera body that will fit very nicely with large lenses. I do think the D850 really excels in that aspect. You have that traditional Nikon layout and it's not missing anything important. They did drop a few things like the 2-button card format feature on the Z7. That's really too bad. I like that feature. I used it a lot on my D750 and D600. All that said, if you are happy with digital SLRs and you want to upgrade, you're really entrenched in the Nikon's F-mount system, I do think the D850 is a great option. It's actually lower cost at the moment than the Z7. And if you really don't care too much about all of the mirrorless features that it adds with the Z7, D850 is the way to go. However, if you don't want to care about micro adjusting your lenses with autofocus, Z7 is a decent option. And then if you want to do silent shooting like in a wedding situation, you've got the EVF on the Z7. It's a good combination. However, I do think you lose out in an ergonomic standpoint with the Z7. It is smaller and that can be a negative in some aspects. With the D850, you've got all of those buttons, all those ergonomics that come with Nikon's higher level cameras. That was a look at the D850 with consideration to the Z7. Again, thanks to Cameracraft and Rockford, Illinois for letting me try this out at their shop. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. Helps me out a lot. Likes and shares help out a lot as well. Thanks again.